Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial. Today we'll be continuing our last video of making our password generator. Today we're going to be making an argument parser for our generator. So I have imported a library called sys. We're gonna need that later to access the arguments. But first off, what do we want to do? Well, what we want to do is, instead of hard coding this or taking it in through the function like input, I want to make this a simple function. You call it once, gives you back what you want with some arguments, right? What we want to do is you do something like Python 3 password generator.py, and now what we do is, for example, length 30, and I want lowercase and numbers, and it will give me actually just lowercase and numbers and length 30 instead of having it hard-coded here. So how about we start doing it, right? So first off, we need to store what the user says for each one of these things, right? So, well, first off, I think it's gonna make things easier. Instead of doing this out in the open, it's just so we have the return function ready, because if we do it right now like this, it doesn't work. It's a lot more complicated when the user gives us like an invalid argument, something like that. We can just exit out the program, and it's also like a common convention. So let's do if name, if name, this is a bit confusing, but this is just if the user has actually run us and this isn't like a library that another program is using, then we'll do a function main, and I'll define it right above here, def main. So now it follows a convention that a lot of people like. I think it looks pretty good. And we have a function that we can easily exit out of if there's anything invalid. So that's a 2-in-1. So let's define our variables here. Let's start off with just impossible stuff, just so we know that we haven't actually done anything to them yet. Lowercase, uppercase, numbers, and symbols. So now, how do we access the arguments, right? This is like the whole point. Well, it's actually very easy. It's just sys.argv. This is an array of strings. Now you have to be aware of something. argv includes this right here. It includes the name of the program. So this time, like the last time I ran it, argv would be a list of strings, password generator.py, length 30, lc, and n. By the way, it includes the little dash here, just so you know. So first off, if they didn't send us anything, if sys.argv, and its length of sys.argv, if it's equal to 1, if it's just the name of the program, they haven't actually sent us any arguments, then we can just print please enter required arguments, and I can say type, and this for those of you who don't know. This way we can type the quotes, because otherwise they think we're opening and closing a string. So just so you know, type help for help, obviously. Perfect. So if you didn't send us anything, I'll just tell you can use help. We'll help you out there. So Now that that's done, let's do a little thing I do for convenience. argv is equal to sys.argv, and now we slice it at 1. Now slicing is basically, this is a function that's very useful. We'll be using it quite a lot throughout the program. The slicing is basically, you take an array, in this case argv, and you give it 3 values. So this is from where you start. So by default, if you do it like this, if you do it like this, it assumes this is 1, right? So we start, 0. It assumes we start at 0. Now this is stop, and stop, if you say 2, the array will include 0 and 1. It won't include 2, so it's stop exclusive. So if you did length of sys.argv, this is the default and includes everything, right? The default is include everything. And this is the step. So step is how many you do at a time. So 1 is the default, it means you go 1 at a time. But 2 means we would skip every other argument. And you could do also -1, which would be going backwards, and -2, which would be going backwards, skipping every other argument. Perfect, right? So let's slice the first argument, which is just the name of the program. It's not useful to us. It'll make things a lot simpler. And now let's implement the other softball, which is if sys.argv 0 of the first one is equal to help. Now let's do this dot lower, so cases don't matter. Dot lower turns every letter into a lowercase letter. So if they type something like this or like this, it would still be valid. So if they ask for help, well, let's make a little help statement here. Welcome to my password generator. Actually, welcome to my awesome password generator. Perfect. So now let's do a list of the arguments, right? So length x. This is a very simple argument parser, not the prettiest, but it does its job, right? So the length of the password to be generated. This argument is required, and x should be replaced by the actual, it's by an integer. Perfect. Let's do the next argument, which would be lowercase. We'll just shorten it to LC. Now we'll say this argument. No. Well, it's hard. It's kind of hard to word, right? Because it's basically saying if you put LC, lowercase will appear. If you don't, lowercase will not appear. So lowercase will appear in the password. Perfect. Now let's copy this a bunch of times because it's basically the same. For this, it's just uppercase. So UC, then we have N, and then we have S. So here we put symbols will appear in the password, and here we say numbers. Now we'll put a little final footnote here. At least one of at least, well, no. Let's actually organize this a bit better. Help statements are always a bit confusing to do because you gotta make sure the user understands it, because if they don't, is really bad because there's no other documentation within the program, right? So you say at least length and at least one other argument must be entered. Perfect. And now we return. So now that we have covered if they didn't send us any arguments or if they sent us the help argument, we can actually loop through our sys.argv. argv. Perfect. So for I in sys.argv. So now if I, and now we're gonna do some slicing. This is when the slicing comes in. Let's count. If it is equal to length, right? So if it has length in the beginning, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Since arrays start at 0, we can do it like that, and this is where we should stop. Is equal to, let's not forget the lower. The lower is equal to length. Well, now we do if I. Let's now do it starting from 7 because that's the rest of what they put in this argument. So if they put like length 30, will be this part, right? So if it is a digit, well, that's good. We can continue. Else, well, we have a problem because print. Please enter an integer after the these after the length after length simply. Now if it is a digit, well, we have to measure another thing. Let's put that also here. Greater than 0, please. Because, you know, a password with 0 characters or negative characters doesn't really make sense. So, if int of I 7, we don't have to worry about this not being an int because we already know it is a digit. I mean, it is digits. So if this is greater than 0, well, that's perfect. We can just say length is equal to int I 7 dot dot or colon. Otherwise, we should print length must be greater than 0. Alright, and in both of these cases we need to return because something isn't right. Alright, so that's the code for length. So now let's do another one. If I 1, 2, 3, okay, I dot lower equal LC, well, we can just say lowercase is equal to true. Perfect. And we can copy and paste this a bunch of times. Oops, that's not what I want to do. And now we just do UC, this is N, this is S, now this is a 2 because it's 1 character less, and this is uppercase, and this is number, no, not number case, number. Wait, did I name it? No, I named it numbers. And This is symbols. So that's perfect. And if it doesn't fit into any of those categories, then I'm sorry, but that's not an actual argument in this program. So print unknown argument, and we'll put these quotes here. Unknown argument that. Now let's link. Oops, yeah, we have to close there. Now in between, let's put I, which is the argument. Now we have type in. We have more of these. Type in help for help. Alright, that was a bit confusing because of all the commas, but that should be good. And one final thing, we have to check if you didn't send us lowercase or uppercase or numbers or symbols. So if not lowercase or uppercase or numbers or symbols, if you just didn't want any characters, then print please enter at least one character type. Okay, and with that we should just be able to call our function print gen password length lowercase uppercase numbers and symbols. Okay, so let's try this out. Yup, it works perfectly. Length 30 and we only got lowercase and numbers. Let's do Python 3 password generator .py. Nothing else. Please enter all required arguments. Type help for help. And that lines up perfectly with what we did here. And let's see our help message. It was a very cool help message. Password generator.py help. Woohoo! We got a little help message here. Welcome to my awesome password generator. Now we have all of the info. And let's do one last test. Python 3 length x lowercase. Oops, I forgot to type in password generator.py. Yep, like that. Please enter an integer after length. We forgot a dot on that actually. Yep. So as you can see, it works perfectly. We have an arg parser for our password generator. And that should be it for our series of making a password generator. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you, learned some stuff from this. I hope you found some use in the program. Oops, why did you import this VS Code? This is always importing random stuff. I don't like that. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I hope you actually followed along with the program. I hope you make use of it, maybe. Or maybe it's just a fun project. And I'll see you next time, where I'll make something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more visual. Yeah. See ya.